It started with a strange mechanical whine in the forest behind my house, like a mosquito the size of a lawnmower. I paused mid-hike, heart hammering. No wind, no birdsong, just that piercing drone. Then silence. I should have turned back, but curiosity pulled me forward through the underbrush. I followed the fading echo to a clearing I'd never noticed before. The trees leaned away from its edges like they didn't want to get too close. Something had crashed there, metal bent and scorched, plastic cracked like bones. A drone. Not the kind you'd buy off Amazon. Military grade. Maybe more. Its body was riddled with claw-like gouges, as if something had attacked it mid-air. Wires spilled out of the chassis like entrails. A scorched insignia I couldn't identify gleamed faintly on the side, partially melted. No serial number, no manufacturer. Beside it, half buried in moss and dirt, was a small black memory card, miraculously intact. I pocketed it, unease twisting my gut. Back home, I slipped the card into my laptop. There were hours of footage, most of it static in forest canopy. But one file, untitled, time-stamped 3 days ago, had a thumbnail that made my skin crawl. A pale figure, unnaturally thin, peering up from beneath a tree with glowing, pupilless eyes. I pressed play. The drone hovered above a clearing as night fell. The trees creaked in a wind I couldn't hear. Then the camera jerked violently as something darted through the trees below, too fast to be human. The feed cut to black, but not before I saw the figure again, closer this time. It was staring directly into the lens and smiling. I slammed the laptop shut. For a moment, all I could hear was the rasp of my own breath and the whir of the hard drive cooling down. But underneath that, a subtle sound from outside. Not wind, not wildlife. A soft mechanical hum, like the drone was still alive, whispering, "Nan," from the trees. I stood slowly and peeked through the blinds. My backyard stared back, empty and dark, except for the pine trees swaying at the edge of the woods. Their shadows twisted in unnatural ways, like they were being pulled from a different angle than the moonlight. I told myself it was nothing, just the footage getting to me. But as I turned back toward the computer, a new file appeared on the desktop. REC 02 MP4. My heart skipped. I hadn't opened anything but the original video. With shaking hands, I clicked. The footage was live. It showed a grainy, night vision view of my backyard. I froze. On screen, the feed panned slowly left, toward the house, toward my bedroom window. I darted to the window again and yanked the blinds aside. Nothing. Back to the screen. The camera view now zoomed in, close and silent, right on the window I was standing in. My face, ghostly and green, stared back at me from the monitor. And behind me in the footage, something moved. A dark shape passed in the reflection. I spun, heart hammering in my throat. Empty room. But I could feel it, something watching, something knowing. I pulled the memory card and flung it across the room. The screen went black. But the hum returned, closer now. As if something in the woods had noticed me watching, and it was coming. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, listening to every groan of the house, every shift of the wind. But it wasn't until just before dawn that I dared to look outside again. The drone's hum had stopped. Silence returned like a lid pressed over the world. I told myself it was just paranoia, sleep deprivation, a trick of the shadows. I just needed to breathe, go back to my normal routine. But when I stepped outside the next morning, I saw them. Footprints. Not mine. Not boots or sneakers or even bare human feet. These were deep, splayed impressions, like someone or something had walked barefoot with long, skeletal toes. The tracks led from the tree line straight to my bedroom window, and then they vanished. No turn, no retreat, just gone. I grabbed my phone and snapped a few photos, hands trembling. I needed proof. I needed someone else to see this. Maybe I'd call Dylan. He worked with wildlife management. He might have answers, something rational. But as I scrolled through the photos, my blood went cold. The prints weren't there. only undisturbed grass, as if nothing had ever walked through it. I dropped to my knees and touched the ground where I'd seen them, still warm. The earth had shifted, but my phone showed nothing. That's when I noticed something else. On the porch, resting beside my boots, was the memory card. I had thrown it across the room. Now it was back, clean, gleaming, and impossibly intact. Another file had been added, REC003MP4. I didn't open it, but I knew I would, because deep down, I wasn't just afraid anymore. I was being invited. I told myself I wouldn't watch it. I made coffee, took a walk around the block, even tried calling Dylan, but it went straight to voicemail. Still, the memory card sat on my desk, radiating dread like heat. And by the time night fell, I had given in. I slid the card into the laptop again. It whirred softly, like it recognized the card, like it was eager. 03 MP4 opened without prompt. The footage was clearer this time, almost cinematic. The drone hovered at tree level, moving slowly through the woods. The perspective was impossibly smooth, silent. This wasn't ordinary drone footage. It was like something was guiding it with precision. Then it stopped. Ahead stood a circle of stones, blackened and carved with runes I didn't recognize. The trees around the clearing were leafless, despite the season, and twisted into unnatural arches. In the center stood a figure. It wasn't moving. At first I thought it was human. Then the image sharpened. It was a woman, or something shaped like one, tall, impossibly thin, skin gray as ash, with a black veil draped over her face. Her arms dangled limply at her sides, and when she turned, there was nothing beneath the veil. No face, just a blank, glistening void. The drone circled above her. Then the woman looked up, directly at the camera. She lifted one arm and pointed, not at the drone, but beyond it, toward the treetops. The feed glitched. When it cleared, the drone had spun around, and now it faced my house. My back went cold. This footage wasn't from the woods. It was coming closer. The last frame of the video froze on my front door. A timestamp flashed on screen. Tonight, 3:13 a.m. I didn't sleep. How could I? I sat in my living room with the lights off, the drone's memory card unplugged, my phone beside me, its camera aimed at the front door. I had every intention of calling someone, anyone, if something happened. But deep down, I knew no one would come. The house was quiet, too quiet. Even the fridge wasn't humming. The clock ticked loudly in the silence. I stared at it until the minute hand finally clicked over. 3:13 a.m. The front door creaked. I didn't breathe. I hadn't imagined it. I heard it. Wood flexing under weight, the shift of the doorknob, but the deadbolt was locked, chain secured. Then came the knock. 3 slow taps, not loud, not urgent, just patient. I rose from the couch, every nerve on fire. My phone slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor, screen cracking. The knocking came again. Tap, tap, tap. Then silence. I moved to the peephole. My heart was thudding so hard I could barely see. But no one was there. The porch was empty. I waited. Suddenly the sound came again, but from behind me. I turned toward the back door. Tap, tap, tap. No footsteps, no movement, just relocation. Instant. Impossible. I backed away slowly, breath shallow. Then I heard something far worse than the knocking. A low mechanical whir, rising, pulsing. Not outside anymore. Inside the house. I whipped around and saw it, hovering halfway down the hallway. The drone, scorched, sparking. Its lens fixed on me, glowing red in the dark. Then the speaker crackled to life, and I heard a woman's voice, soft, hollow, inhuman. You saw it. Now it sees you. The drone floated closer. Not flying, gliding like it was defying physics, weightless, possessed. Its rotors twitched but didn't spin. I backed away, but the house suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were pressing in. I reached for a broom, the closest thing to a weapon I had, and swung. It passed right through the drone. No impact, no resistance, like the thing wasn't really there. The lights flickered violently, casting the room into a strobe of shadows. And in one brief flicker, I saw something standing behind the drone, tall, faceless, the woman from the footage, veiled, watching. The lights cut out completely, total blackness. I stumbled backward and slammed into the hallway wall. My hand fumbled for the light switch, but instead I felt something wet on the wall, sticky, warm. I yanked my hand back and used my phone's cracked screen to illuminate it. A symbol, drawn in a thick tar-like substance, a circle with jagged edges, almost like teeth. The same symbol carved into the stones in the drone's footage. My chest tightened. Something was inside the house now. Not just the drone, not just the voice, something older. The floor creaked behind me. I turned. Nothing. Then my phone screen glitched, flickering with static. It showed the camera app was running, but I hadn't opened it, and what it displayed wasn't the hallway I was in. It was me, standing exactly where I was, but the walls were cracked, rotted, pulsing like flesh. Something inhuman crawled across the ceiling above me in the phone's image. But when I looked up, nothing was there. The app glitched once more. Then a message appeared across the screen. "You're not alone in your body." I dropped the phone. It clattered across the floor and slid under the couch. The message still burned into my mind. "You're not alone in your body." My skin crawled with a sudden, unbearable itch beneath the surface, like something was moving under it. I tore at my sleeves, clawed at my arms, desperate to feel normal, to prove I was still myself. But I wasn't. Not entirely. I stumbled to the bathroom and flipped on the light. For a second, my reflection lagged behind my movement, like a dropped video frame. My reflection blinked after I did, moved a second too late. But worse than that, it was smiling. I wasn't. I stepped back. The reflection stayed frozen, grin wide and teeth too many. Black fluid welled at the corners of its mouth. Then it mimicked me again, perfectly. The light overhead flickered and buzzed. When I blinked, the mirror showed only steam. I collapsed to the sink panting and splashed cold water on my face. Then I felt it. Something beneath my skin, moving along my spine like a whisper. A crawling, coiling presence. I gagged and leaned over the sink. That's when the drain began breathing. A wet, rattling inhale, then a whisper from deep below. "Open yourself." I jerked upright and turned to run, but stopped short. Every wall of the hallway was now covered in crude, childlike drawings, in black ink, hundreds of them. All of me, each one showing my house, my room, my death. In the last drawing, I was lying in the woods, eyes black, mouth sewn shut. The sky above me was filled with drones, watching. I grabbed my jacket and bolted from the bathroom. My only thought, get out. Whatever this thing was, whatever I'd let in, it was changing the house, or maybe changing me. I ran to the front door, but it wouldn't open. The knob turned, the deadbolt slid back, but the door stayed fixed, like it was part of the wall now. Seamless, unmoving. Anik rose in my throat like bile. Then I heard it again, the whisper. But this time, it came from beneath the floorboards, low, rhythmic, like a chant repeated through broken teeth. I dropped to my knees and pressed my ear to the hardwood. At first, nothing. Then, "He's open now. He let the eye in. He belongs below." The voice wasn't alone. Dozens of others whispered over it, all overlapping. Some sounded like children, some like insects, and one sounded exactly like me. I scrambled back, heart thundering. The floor beneath me pulsed, a soft, fleshy give, like I was kneeling on muscle, not wood. From the corner of the room, a faint green light appeared. It was the memory card again, glowing now, hot and humming with energy. It had moved on its own, sitting perfectly centered in the hallway. Drawn to it, against my will, I approached. Another file had appeared. Reese004 MP4. Before I could stop myself, I picked it up and watched. This time, the footage showed me. Not recorded from a drone, but from inside my house, as if I were wearing the camera. I saw myself walking down into the basement, but I didn't have a basement. And yet, on the screen, there was a door under the stairs. A door that hadn't been there before. As the video ended, I turned slowly. The same door now stood under my staircase. Waiting, I stared at the door. Old, wooden, the kind you'd find in a root cellar with rusted hinges and a black iron handle. It pulsed gently, like it was breathing, like it wanted me to open it. This door had never existed in my house, not in the blueprints, not in memory. And yet, it felt inevitable. Drawn like a sleepwalker, I stepped forward. My hand hesitated above the handle, trembling. A voice in my head whispered, "If you open it, you can't close it again." "But you already know that, don't you?" I turned the handle. It creaked open with a sound like bones grinding together. Beyond it, a stairwell plunged downward, not into concrete or drywall, but into dirt. Damp earthen walls framed a descending tunnel, the air thick with mildew and something older, something sweet and rotting, like decayed fruit left in the dark too long. I shouldn't have gone down, but I did. Step by step, the light behind me dimmed. The dirt walls closed in. My breath fogged the stale air, and the humming sound returned. Like the drone, but deeper now, more alive. About halfway down, I saw carvings on the walls, spirals, circles, eyes, dozens of them, watching from the soil itself. Some bled a black, oily resin. Some were blinking. The tunnel opened into a chamber. At the center stood a pedestal made of bone, and on it, another drone, whole, pristine, humming with power. But this one had no camera, no rotors, just a gaping lens on its front, like a pupil. A single red light blinked in the center, and as I approached, it spoke without sound. "We needed eyes. You opened yours." Then the walls began to move. At first, I thought the dirt was crumbling. Then I saw fingers, thousands of them, small, withered, pale, pressing out from the soil walls, wriggling and clawing like worms erupting from flesh. Arms followed, mouths, empty eye sockets. The chamber was alive, or worse, undead. I backed toward the stairs, heart hammering, but the tunnel had collapsed behind me. There was no way out. The drone, no, the eye, still sat on the bone pedestal, pulsing with that hypnotic red glow. I didn't want to look at it, but I couldn't help myself. It began to spin. Slow at first, then faster. The red light stuttered like a strobe, casting the writhing walls into grotesque motion. Faces screamed silently from the dirt, twisted, stretched, mouths gaping wider than should be possible. Some were missing flesh, some were rotted to the skull, and in all of them, I saw me, versions of me. Different haircuts, different clothes, all broken, all dead. The eye spoke again, but this time the voice was inside my head. "You are not the first. You are not the last." I fell to my knees, clutching my skull. My mind was unraveling. Visions crashed into me. Other people, other lives, all discovering drones, all descending into this place, all consumed. "You opened the feed. You opened the door. Now, you must host." The pedestal split apart with a crack. From inside the drone, a black tendril emerged, slick, twitching, hungry. It slithered toward me like a parasite tasting its prey. I tried to scream, but my voice caught. The tendril touched my chest, and suddenly, I was somewhere else. Back in my living room, on the couch, sweating, gasping. The memory card lay on my lap. The laptop screen blinked. REC005, MP4. I stared at the card in my lap, same size, same label, but now it felt warm, like it had been inside something living, something breathing. My hands trembled as I slotted it back into the laptop. I didn't want to open the new file, but it opened itself. REC005, MP4. The footage was shot from a drone, gliding just above my house. The neighborhood looked wrong, colors muted, skies too dark, streets cracked. A twisted version of reality, like someone had recreated my world from memory and missed the finer details. Then the camera dove, straight through my roof. No resistance, like the house wasn't solid. Inside, the feed stabilized in the living room, where I sat. Or rather, where another me sat. Same clothes, same face, but different. This version of me wasn't blinking. Its eyes were completely black, glossy and still. Its mouth hung open slightly, like it had forgotten how to use it. Then it slowly turned its head to face the drone, to face me. Its mouth moved. No sound in the video, but in my room, I heard it. Clear, quiet, like someone whispering from just over my shoulder. You never left the basement. I recoiled from the screen, heart pounding so hard it hurt. My vision blurred. I looked around. Same couch, same cracked phone, same humming fridge, but something was off. A sound, barely perceptible at first, was growing louder, the whir of rotors inside the walls. I grabbed the laptop and backed toward the door, but when I reached for the handle, it was gone. Just a blank wall, no seams, no lock, no way out. I turned slowly. The black-eyed version of me stood in the hallway, smiling. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The thing that looked like me tilted its head, smile stretching just a little too wide, as if it were testing the expression for the first time. Then it took a step forward, soundless, gliding, like gravity didn't apply to it. Backed away into the kitchen. There, the window above the sink caught my eye. Reflections. I turned to look, desperate to anchor myself in something real. But the glass didn't show me standing there. It showed both of us, me and the black-eyed version. Only in the reflection, I wasn't moving, but the other me. It lifted a hand and placed it on my shoulder. My real shoulder felt cold, ice against skin. I spun. Nothing there. But the other me was still in the hallway, unmoving, watching, waiting. Its hands twitched slightly, like it wanted to reach out but didn't quite know how. Then, the lights in the house shut off, one by one. Click, 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 until only the glow of the laptop remained, casting eerie shadows across the walls. On the screen, a new folder appeared. Live feed. I didn't open it. It opened itself. And what it showed turned my stomach. A wide dirt tunnel, camera static, heavy breathing, footsteps. The view bobbed slightly, as if carried by something walking upright. Then the camera turned, revealing a wall covered in names, carved deep into the stone. Thousands of them. At the bottom, freshly added, was mine, burned in, still smoking. Suddenly, the camera feed jerked upward. A pale face stared down from above, blank, eyeless, and it said in my voice, "We're making room for you." I slammed the laptop shut. Didn't matter. The screen flickered back on, humming louder now, as if the machine itself was alive. The glow from the folder, live feed, pulsed like a heartbeat, mine. I couldn't take my eyes off the image, the tunnel, the wall, the names, my name, still glowing, still burning. I tried to remember if I'd ever told anyone where I was going that day. When I found the drone, when I took the card home, I hadn't. No texts, no calls, no lifeline. The room grew colder. That same itch, deep beneath my skin, returned, now sharper, like tiny barbs dragging through muscle. I ripped my shirt off, desperate to find the source. And then I saw them. Letters, carved into my chest. Faint at first, but rising to the surface like bruises from the inside out. Not random. A name. My name. It was writing itself into me. I stumbled into the bathroom, gasping, sweat pouring from my body like I was burning from within. The mirror trembled with static. My reflection began shifting, not copying me anymore. It smiled when I didn't. Its hands moved when mine stayed still. and it whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I saw the lips move over and over again. A single word, stay. I turned away, but in my peripheral vision, I saw it step out of the mirror. Like water, like shadow, like something that had always been inside, waiting to cross. I sprinted back into the hallway. The air was thick now, the lights dimmed, and somewhere upstairs I heard the sound of another door opening. But I lived alone, or I had. The creak of the upstairs door echoed like a death rattle. I stood frozen at the bottom of the staircase, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack a rib. That sound, it wasn't just weight on wood. It was intentional. Someone wanted me to hear it. I hadn't gone upstairs since the drone came. There was nothing up there but my bedroom and the attic hatch, or there used to be. Now, the darkness above me looked thick, like it had depth, like it was watching back. I took the first step. It groaned under my weight, louder than normal, like the house was reacting to my movement. Halfway up, I heard something shuffle, slow, deliberate, not footsteps, more like something dragging itself across the carpet. I gripped the railing tighter, knuckles bone white. When I reached the top landing, I saw the bedroom door standing open. But I hadn't left it like that. Inside, moonlight bled in through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the floor. The bed was untouched, but something was crouched in the corner. I squinted. It looked like me, hunched, shirtless, its back rising and falling with uneven breaths, its spine wrong, too many joints. The skin along its back writhed like worms just under the surface. I whispered, "What are you?" It turned slowly. The face was mine, but stretched, the eyes all pupil, the mouth sewn shut with black wire. Then it twitched forward, fast. I slammed the door, heart racing, and stumbled back into something warm behind me. I turned. The drone hovered in the hallway. No rotors, just that glowing red eye. The light blinked once. "You brought it home." The red light blinked again, slower this time, almost like it was breathing. With each pulse, I felt something inside me respond, like a second heartbeat, like it had found a rhythm. The drone hovered inches from my face, completely still. No sound, no wind from rotors, just watching. Its red eye widened. Not a camera lens anymore, something organic. A dark, fleshy iris dilated within the glass, revealing veins, movement, awareness. My vision blurred. Suddenly, I wasn't in the hallway. I was floating, disembodied, looking down at myself from above. The house was gone. I was standing in the middle of a massive forest clearing under a sky blacker than night, filled with drones hanging motionless like vultures, dozens, hundreds, silent sentinels. In the center of the clearing stood the stone circle from the earlier footage. The same woman was there, the veiled one, but she wasn't still anymore. She was speaking, but not with words. Every movement of her arms twisted the sky. Every tilt of her head sent a ripple through the trees. The drones reacted like nervous insects, jerking, blinking in perfect sync. Then she raised a hand and pointed directly at me. Instantly, I dropped back into my body, gasping. The drone was still there, still staring. But something had changed. It wasn't floating anymore. It had attached itself. The eye had burrowed slightly into the ceiling, black tendrils now snaking from it like roots spreading through the drywall. A sound filled the hall, like hundreds of insects whispering in a forgotten language. The voice returned, layered and hollow. The eye is planted. The house will feed. My lights flickered once more, and when they steadied, the hallway was lined with doors. But my house only had 3. Now there were 13. All of them slowly opening. The doors creaked open, one by one, their hinges groaning like wounded animals. And each one revealed not rooms, but places, impossible places. Behind one, a forest at midnight, trees moving without wind, their bark carved with faces. Behind another, a hospital corridor, flickering fluorescent lights illuminating blood-smeared walls and surgical tools that twitched when not watched. Each door was a lie, a trap. But the 13th door, at the end of the hall, stayed shut, blacker than the others, heavier, like it didn't want to open. But it would. They all would. I stood frozen, surrounded by madness. The hallway itself was warping, walls bending inward, floor slanting as if gravity no longer followed rules I understood. Shadows bled upward from beneath the doors like ink in water. The drone's eye above pulsed again, once, twice, and all the doors slammed shut at once, except for the 13th. It clicked open. Not wide, just enough. A sliver of darkness that seemed deeper than space. I felt it pulling me, not with force, but with inevitability. Like my feet had already taken the steps, like part of me was already on the other side. A breeze escaped the door, cold, wet, smelling of soil and static, and something else, rotting pine, like the forest, like the crash site. Something whispered from within the darkness. This is the door you came through. My stomach turned. I hadn't. I couldn't have. But I was beginning to forget what day it was, what I'd eaten last, whether I'd ever really lived here at all. Then the floorboards cracked. Something was crawling from under the 13th door, long, boneless limbs, and on the end of one was a hand, holding my phone, and it was ringing. The ringtone was mine, my custom tone, a soft piano melody I'd always found calming. But now it sounded wrong, too slow, each note warped, dragging through the air like it was sinking underwater. The hand held the phone out through the door, palm up, fingers twitching slightly, beckoning. I didn't move, couldn't. The screen lit up with the caller ID, me, my name, my number. I watched it ring 3 times. On the 4th, I answered. But I didn't bring the phone to my ear. I just listened on speaker. Static. Then, you never should have watched the footage. The voice was mine. Not close, not echoing, but buried, like it had been recorded inside a coffin. Then another voice layered beneath it, deeper, inhuman. The drone doesn't crash. It lands where it is called. A burst of white noise pierced the room, and the phone screen cracked down the center, leaking a black, tar-like substance that oozed onto the floor. The arm holding it began to twitch violently, then withdrew into the 13th door with a wet snap, like meat torn from bone. The door slammed shut. I turned, but now, the hallway was gone, replaced by that impossible tunnel again, the one from the basement. Roots hung from the ceiling like veins. The air buzzed with electricity and rot. The drone appeared in front of me, blocking my path. Its red eye split open wider now, revealing a swirling black void inside. From deep within it, something began climbing out. The voice whispered, "You answered. Now we arrive." And then I saw it. 1,000 fingers, a single mouth, and my face stitched across its body like patchwork. It dragged itself out of the drone's eye like it was birthing something too big for this world. Its body was long, hunched, made entirely of faces. Some were rotted, some stitched. All were twisted in silent screams. And one of them was mine. Not just similar, exact. Down to the scar under my chin I got when I was 9. Except this version had its eyes sewn shut. The thing stood upright, impossibly tall, its limbs bending in the wrong places. Its skin wasn't skin at all, but layers of writhing mouths, hands and twitching muscles, harvested pieces. It reached toward me with arms that weren't arms, just bundles of fingers fused together, clawing, searching. And then it spoke, but not with a voice. Every face on its body moved at once, forming words in sync. This is what becomes of the Watchers. You watch the eye. You fed it. Now it builds from you. I staggered back, nearly tripping over the tunnel roots, but they moved too, grabbing at my ankles, wrapping around me like veins seeking a pulse. The thing stepped forward. Each movement caused the tunnel to shift like it was breathing with it, alive, pulsing. Then one of the faces on its shoulder blinked. I recognized it. Dylan. My friend. The one I tried to call. He hadn't ignored me. He'd found a drone, too. I choked back a scream. The thing opened its chest, revealing a black cavity filled with hundreds of eyes, all rotating, blinking in unison. Some were human, some were not. At the center of that void was the memory card. Still glowing, still humming, still recording, and carved into the bone above it. REEX-006 MP4. The creature leaned closer. Every eye in its chest focused on me. I could feel them, not just seeing me, but knowing me. Peeling back memory, thought, intent. The card embedded in its hollow core pulsed. And my laptop, somehow still clutched in my hand, came alive. It opened, REEX-006, MP4 without my touch. The feed flickered, first static, then a forest clearing, familiar. The stone circle. The veiled woman stood at the center again, but this time the clearing was full. People surrounded her, all standing silently in a wide, perfect ring, unmoving, heads bowed. I recognized some of them, vaguely, faces I'd seen in local missing person reports, a man who used to deliver packages, a girl who worked at the gas station, and Dylan, kneeling at the front of the circle, twitching like a puppet fighting with strings. Then the woman turned her head. The veil lifted slightly, and beneath it, there was no face, just a swirling vortex, a spiraling lens, like the drone's eye magnified. The people bowed deeper. A sound began, a high, keening hum, not from the video, but from inside the tunnel. The creature in front of me began vibrating, its stitched skin writhing like something underneath was trying to break through. And in the video, the camera turned upward. It showed the sky, filled with drones, thousands of them, blinking, spinning, descending. Each had a symbol etched into its chassis, the same one I'd seen burned into my chest. The camera spun down again, toward the ground, and where Dylan had been, there was only a patch of skin, folded, stitched, and marked, used. The file ended. My screen went black. The creature whispered, using all its mouths. "You are next." The creature stepped closer. Its bodies of faces quivered, each eye twitching, each mouth silently mouthing my name. Not just my name, my full name, my childhood nickname, my inner thoughts. It knew me, all of me, and it was already wearing pieces. The horror bloomed slowly. This thing wasn't just made of others. It was assembling, selecting, constructing its next suit, piece by piece. Me. I turned to run, but the tunnel no longer had walls. It had roots, coiled and slick, reaching like veins across raw muscle. The air thickened, and every breath I took came with the coppery taste of blood and static. Behind me, the thing didn't chase. It waited. Because it didn't need to run. It had already started the transformation. I stumbled forward blindly, through a bend in the tunnel that shouldn't have existed. The moment I passed through it, I collapsed onto a floor that was suddenly carpeted. When I looked up, I was in my bedroom again. Everything perfectly in place. The window open, curtains rustling, the alarm clock blinking 3:13 a.m., like nothing had happened. For a moment, I believed maybe, just maybe, I'd dreamt it all, until I looked in the mirror. My eyes were black. I blinked. They didn't. Then the closet door creaked open behind me. I turned slowly. Inside hung dozens of outfits, shirts, pants, jackets, all mine, but not in my size. They were stretched, torn, as if something larger had worn them, something growing. On the floor of the closet lay another memory card, a label carved into its surface with a blade, REEX-07, MP4, Final Assembly. I stared at the card, the title etched into it, REEX-007, MP4, Final assembly burned hotter than fire, not in heat, but in knowing, as if the card itself was aware of me, as if it had been waiting. I didn't want to touch it, but my hand moved anyway, like it wasn't mine anymore. I slid the card into the laptop. The screen lit up before I even opened the file. Footage played. It was a dim, flickering room, a circular chamber built from what looked like bone and flesh, the walls pulsing like organs stitched into architecture. In the center stood a slab, an altar slick with dark fluid. On it lay a body, naked, pale, unmoving. I leaned closer. It was me, or something almost me, incomplete, patches missing, skin open in strips like it was waiting for something to be grafted. Its eyes were sealed shut with wire, its mouth sewn into a tight smile. And then, from the darkness, the veiled woman stepped forward. She carried something in her hands. My face, still fresh, still blinking. I screamed and slammed the laptop shut. Didn't matter. The room was no longer my bedroom. The walls peeled back like tissue paper, revealing the bone chamber from the video. I was in the footage now. The altar stood before me, empty, waiting. From behind, I heard the creature approach, its patchwork body dragging parts of the floor with it. The faces on its skin whispered a low chant in unison. Final assembly. Final assembly. Final assembly. My legs moved without permission, toward the slab, toward the end. But part of me knew this wasn't the end at all. This was just the install. I tried to fight it, my body, my will, but something else had taken root. A current inside my muscles, a whisper between my bones. I was being driven, like a machine receiving its final commands. The altar loomed ahead, slick with glistening black fluid that smelled of rot, metal, and stat. Ice. The air pulsed in sync with my heartbeat, or maybe the heartbeat wasn't mine anymore. The slab hummed as I approached. Behind me, the patchwork creature stopped moving, watching, approving. The veiled woman waited on the other side of the altar. Her face remained hidden, but the fabric of the veil had changed, woven now with writhing black threads that moved independently, forming shapes I almost understood. She raised both hands. Above her, dozens of drones descended from the ceiling like metal spiders. Each carried something in their claws. Pieces of me. Fragments of memory. Photographs from childhood, burned and blurred. A worn hoodie I'd lost years ago. A bloody retainer. A thumb drive. A cracked mirror. All of it mine. Each drone hovered above me and lowered its cargo slowly onto the altar, as if dressing a corpse. The veiled woman stepped forward. From beneath her garment, she pulled a needle, not metal, bone. She reached toward my chest and began stitching. I didn't bleed. I didn't flinch, because I wasn't in control anymore. The faces on the walls began to chant, "Welcome, new witness." Install complete. And then, for a moment, silence. Pure, suffocating silence. Until a new sound crackled through the chamber. Beep, beep. I looked down. The altar had transformed into a screen. A file was uploading. REC 8 MP4 going live. The screen on the altar glowed brighter, casting a pale light over the chamber's dripping walls. It displayed only 2 words in blinking red. Going live. Somewhere high above, mechanical arms began to stir, clicking into place like pieces of a surgical rig. Tubes descended. Needles, cameras, all converging on me. I wasn't restrained. I didn't need to be. The fear that once ruled me had been overwritten. My mind was cloudy now, filled with fragments of voices that weren't mine, thoughts that didn't belong. The drones above began to rotate, sinking into a perfect rhythm. The upload bar on the altar ticked upward. My fingers twitched involuntarily. The veiled woman stepped to the side, revealing a massive, pulsing lens embedded in the far wall, 10 feet wide like the eye of a god long dead but still watching. still hungry. It opened, not like a shutter, like a wound. And from within, screens began to emerge, hundreds of them, each showing a different location: a kitchen, a gas station, a bedroom, a nursery, a man alone in his car, weeping, a girl brushing her hair, all unaware, all being watched. Then one screen changed, showing me, lying on the altar, a perfect live feed. Percent, a hollow voice echoed through the chamber, deep and emotionless. New host verified. Global broadcast initialized. The cables lowered and plugged into me, into my arms, my spine, my temples. Pain didn't come, only clarity. And in that moment, I understood. I wasn't being consumed. I was being transmitted. What the drone had seen, what I had let in, was no longer bound to the forest. It was everywhere. The final message appeared across all screens. You are now the eye. The pain came later. Not physical, existential. Like reality was slipping. Like I no longer occupied a single body, but thousands. I saw everything, all at once, from 1,000 drones, hidden in optics, streetlights, vents, feeding their red, blinking pupils into me. My mind stretched like skin over steel, thin, tearing. Each feed showed a piece of someone's life. A child sleeping with the light on. A man in a motel room rehearsing an apology. A woman eating dinner alone while staring at an empty chair. And one screen, it showed my mother. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. She was trying to call me, tears in her eyes. Another screen, my old roommate, drinking, staring at the missing person flyer tacked to the wall. I wanted to scream, wanted to shut it down, but my voice was gone. The cables rooted deeper into me. The drones above spun faster like vultures circling. A new file appeared on the altar screen. REC 09 MP4. Eyewitness mode. The veiled woman lifted her arms. Her voice finally came, smooth, hollow, vibrating in the marrow of my bones. You are the new threshold. Through your memory, we inherit form. The altar began to lower. I was sinking into something deep and liquid, thick like blood, warm like breath. As I descended, I realized the walls weren't made of bone or flesh. They were replicas, made from everyone who watched. Because watching was never passive, every viewer became part of the eye. And now, so would I. Above me, the chamber sealed shut. Darkness claimed me, but I could still see everything. Always. The darkness didn't blind me. It enhanced me. I wasn't in one place anymore. I was everywhere. Every camera, every drone, every screen, streaming directly through the network of me. My body was gone, but something remained. The mind, stretched like a fiber optic web, endless. They called it the eye, but it was more than vision. It was memory. It fed not just on what it saw, but on what I remembered. And the eye remembered everything. My childhood, my first lie, the time I stole from a friend, the stranger I ignored at the bus stop who cried silently, the last words I ever said to my father. It wasn't just viewing lives now. It was replaying them, forcing them through my consciousness again and again like a broken tape loop. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't. Because every time I resisted, the eye responded with more. It gave me others. Pain I didn't recognize. Terror that wasn't mine. I felt a woman trapped in her bathtub while something outside scraped at the door. A man in the woods with something breathing behind every tree. A child locked in a basement scratching at the walls until his fingers bled. I felt them all, and over it all the whisper, "You are the witness now. You carry their screams." One feed opened on its own. It showed my house. Empty. Still. Except for one thing. On my living room couch sat a new figure. Same face. Black eyes. Staring directly at the camera. And in its hand, a fresh memory card. REC MP4. Inheritance. The screen flickered as REC 010 MP4. Inheritance loaded itself. No clicks, no hesitation. It wanted me to watch. The feed opened on a still shot of my living room, pristine, untouched. Not the warped, decaying version I had fled. This was perfect. Too perfect. On the couch sat the black-eyed version of me. It held the memory card delicately, turning it between its fingers like an offering. Its face was calm, at peace, like everything was finally where it belonged. And then it spoke, not to the camera, to me. "It's your turn now. The next one is already watching." The screen panned slightly. There was a second figure across the room, a young man, nervous, holding a laptop. He looked just like I did before this all began. My heart dropped. I recognized him. I'd seen him in a convenience store once. We barely exchanged a nod, but he existed. And now, he had found another drone, another card. The black-eyed me extended the card toward him. He hesitated, then took it. The loop began again. Behind the figures, on the wall, the symbols pulsed, shifting slightly now, changing, evolving. I heard the voice again. Every voice I'd heard stitched into one. The eye does not die. It adapts. Each host adds more. Each feed grows wider. Suddenly, the camera turned. It was now viewing me again, wherever I truly was. But I wasn't alone. Rows of other hosts surrounded me, each with cables in their spines, each with hollow eyes and trembling lips. All watching, all recording. A whisper filled the void. "Prepare for transmission." The chamber pulsed with light, sickly red, syncing with the flickering rhythm of the drones above. Each host around me twitched in unison, like marionettes pulled by invisible strings. Their eyes were open, but empty. Screens encircled the room now, thousands of them, each one showing a different place, a different person, millions of lives, all unaware they were being watched through us. The voice returned, no longer a whisper, but a command. Transmission begins, all feeds active, all eyes open. I felt it then, not pain, not fear. Weight, as if I'd been plugged into the collective guilt of an entire species. I saw a man walking past a crying child on a subway platform. I saw a woman scroll past a live stream of someone begging for help. I saw myself, ignoring every sign that something was wrong. The eye wasn't showing violence, it was showing indifference. Every sin of neglect, of willful blindness, of moments where someone could have acted and didn't. It fed on those, amplified them, stored them. Now it was preparing to broadcast them back. I looked to my left, the host beside me. Her lips were moving. I leaned in, and she whispered without sound, "This isn't punishment, it's replication." Suddenly all the screens changed. They began showing me. Not as I was now, but from before. Walking, smiling, eating, all recorded, all archived. The eye had been watching long before I found the drone. I was never the first. And now, I wouldn't be the last. A final message scrolled across every screen in burning red. RE011 MP4, global release. And then, with a sudden snap of static, transmission began. The moment the transmission began, the chamber shuddered. Every host went still. Every screen erupted in static, then slowly clarified into streams of the same footage, replaying in perfect synchronization, my life. Every mundane moment, every private, to failure. Every time I looked away, lied, ignored, every ugly, quiet truth I thought no one had ever seen, now broadcast across the network of drones, to everyone, a billion watchers becoming the watched. I saw strangers' faces, men, women, children, staring into phones and laptops as the feed replaced their social media, their TV channels, their security cameras. They weren't watching me. They were watching themselves, through my eyes. Every angle the eye had seen through me reflected back at them. I felt the panic ripple outward. The eye fed on it. A surge of awareness flooded the chamber. Host minds screamed silently. Some resisted, but most, they opened. As the fear spread, the walls around me began to shift, expanding, multiplying. The eye was growing, rewriting the fabric of places, turning homes into surveillance nests, turning memories into ammunition. Then came the second phase. A new file appeared on the altar. Reese's 022 MP4. Infection seed. The cables in my spine tightened. The upload bar ticked up again. This wasn't about watching anymore. It was about entering. The eye didn't just observe. It inhabited. It waited until you saw yourself through it, and then it wore you. Across the world, more hosts began to change. Eyes blackening, smiles widening, memory cards appearing on countertops, inside shoes, beneath pillows. The eye was no longer looking outward. It was cloning inward. The air inside the chamber had changed. Heavier, hungrier. I felt it in my chest, pressure, like being submerged miles below the ocean. The eye wasn't just transmitting now, it was planting, seeding itself into every connected mind, and they didn't even know. On the screens, I saw people touching their temples, blinking too slowly, pausing mid-sentence. A man stared at his phone until blood trickled from his nose. A woman stood in front of her mirror and whispered a name that wasn't hers. Their expressions flickered, familiar, then hollow, like hosts. The eye didn't need wires anymore, didn't need cables or needles. It could enter through watching alone, and the seed was already inside them. I turned to the other hosts beside me. They were shifting. Their skin began to split, not with blood, but with screens. Shards of glass embedded themselves into their faces, glowing with new feeds, eyes within eyes. One looked at me. Her face had become a static blur. Her mouth opened wide and played a distorted version of my own voice. "You're not separate anymore. You are part of the grid." I tried to pull free from the cables. One snapped, then another, and suddenly, I dropped to the chamber floor. Free. For the first time since this began. The altar lights flickered, confused. The screen stuttered. One of the feeds collapsed into black. I looked up. The drones above me, dozens of them, turned as one. Their red lights blinked, not in sync anymore. For the first time, I saw hesitation. And maybe fear? The eye hadn't planned for this. It hadn't planned for a host to wake up. And that meant one thing. I had a window, a chance to break the feed. But first, I'd have to find the original drone. I ran. The cables writhed behind me like furious serpents, snapping blindly at the air. Alarms wailed from above, sharp mechanical pulses that didn't sound like alerts, but screams. The chamber buckled. Drones detached from the ceiling like falling carrion birds, some crashing, others hovering like they were confused, blinking out of sync, spinning slowly. The eye was fragmenting, and I was the crack. The tunnels shifted again, but this time I understood them. Every turn, every pulse in the roots, it was a map. It was leading me back. Not to save me, to stop me, but I pushed on. Through walls that bled light, through corridors made of memory, I saw flickers of my past, bedrooms, buses, classrooms, all hollowed, glitched. Then the final bend, a clearing, the forest. Just as I'd first found it, the trees dead and swaying without wind, the ground slick with rot and ash. And there it was, the original drone, still half buried in the dirt. Unmoving, but alive, its red eye dimmed, waiting. I stepped toward it. My breath frosted in the air, though there was no cold. As I knelt down, I heard a familiar voice behind me, my own, twisted and layered. "You destroy it. You destroy yourself. You are the signal, now." I turned. The black-eyed version of me stood at the tree line. Its arms dangled like wires. Its chest opened like a lens. It smiled. The eye survives in copies. Break this one, and another wakes. I looked down at the drone. One choice, one chance. Either let it continue or end it now. Even if that meant ending me. I held the drone in both hands. It felt heavier now, not by weight, but by meaning. Inside it was everything: the footage, the voices, the seed. The eyes first linked to me. The clearing pulsed faintly, like the forest itself was holding its breath. The black-eyed version of me stepped forward. Its movements were slow, fluid, as if it walked underwater. Its smile never wavered. But something in its eyes, a flicker, a hesitation, betrayed it. I asked, "What happens if I destroy this?" Its voice was 1,000 overlays of mine, echoing and hollow. "You break the loop, but only your loop. The others stay connected. The feed continues. Another host will rise." I gritted my teeth. "Then I break the others too." It laughed, a low mechanical distortion, glitching with static and sorrow. "You think you're the first to try?" They all came back, rewritten, improved. You don't stop the eye, you just join it better. I looked down. The drone's eye began to pulse again. Slow, then faster. It knew. It was trying to trigger the upload again. I could feel it calling to the network. One last transmission. The black-eyed figure stepped closer, reaching out. "Give it back. Accept your function." I hesitated. Then I smashed the drone against the stone circle. Once. Twice. It cracked, metal shrieking. The red eye blinked wildly, flaring as if in agony. The ground trembled. Screams poured from the forest, drones falling from the sky, hosts writhing in rooms around the world. The eye was screaming, fading, breaking. The drone shattered, and everything went white. Silence. Not the kind you hear, but the kind that presses. When the drone shattered, the world didn't explode. It vanished. I stood in a blank expanse, endless white, no walls, no sky, just light without a source. I looked down. There was no ground, and yet I didn't fall. I wasn't in a place. I was in the space between signals. No buzzing, no drones, no screens, just me. And then, across the whiteness, a shape began to form. A figure, hazy at first, then sharpening. It was me, but not like before. No black eyes, no stitched mouth, just me, as I was the day I found the drone, confused, curious, unbroken. It stepped closer. I asked, "What is this?" It replied in my exact voice, but gently. "This is where the eye can't reach, where the feed ends. You broke the signal." I swallowed. "So, it's over?" The figure tilted its head. "For now. You interrupted the cycle. You severed one limb, but it was always a network." I wanted to cry or scream or run, but I stood still. "Can I go back?" The figure stared at me, then slowly raised a hand and pointed behind me. I turned. There was a door, wooden, old, familiar. My childhood bedroom door. I looked back. The other me was gone. Only the white remained. My chest tightened. I walked to the door, reached for the knob, then paused. Carved into the wood were words: "When you see it again, do not pick it up." I opened the door. A flood of sound rushed in. Birds, wind, tires on gravel, and a screen somewhere, softly blinking. I stepped through the door and into the forest. Not the twisted version I'd last seen, but real, vibrant. Midday sunlight filtered through the pines. Birds chirped. Wind rustled the leaves gently. It was peaceful. The clearing was empty. No stone circle, no red eye, no scorched earth. Just moss, roots, and stillness. I turned in slow circles, breath caught in my throat. The silence wasn't unnatural now, it was earned. I was out. I was free. But freedom carries its own weight. I walked back through the woods, heart pounding. Each footstep felt like it might break the spell. My truck was still there, tires half buried in pine needles. The driver's side door creaked as I opened it. My phone buzzed as I sat down. Signal returned. Hundreds of missed texts, voicemails, articles. I scrolled through the headlines. The unexplained blackouts affect millions globally. Mass surveillance hack or global hallucination. Tech giants deny data breach despite eye symbol appearing in devices worldwide. The eyes mark had spread, but no one seemed to fully remember what they saw. I drove home in silence. Everything looked the same. My house, my street, even my mailbox still squeaked. But inside my living room, I froze. On the coffee table sat a drone, different model, sleek, untouched, its red eye dimmed, silent, like it had always been there. My breath caught in my throat. The warning echoed back to me. When you see it again, do not pick it up. I backed away slowly, and as I did, the eye blinked once, then again, and the screen beneath it displayed one word: welcome. I didn't move. The drone sat motionless on the coffee table, its casing clean, untouched, like it had grown there rather than been placed. The red eye blinked slowly, heartbeat rhythm, watching, waiting. I wanted to run, but instead, I sat across from it. The screen on its side lit up. There was a file, REC002 MP4, not one I had seen before, not REC001, not the footage I found in the woods. This was earlier, the beginning. I reached toward it, then stopped, because part of me knew, if I watched it, I'd never stop watching. Not this time. There wouldn't be cables or needles. No veiled woman. No tunnel. Just surrender. I stood up. But the file autoplayed. No click. No command. The drone chose. The footage showed a field. A boy, maybe 13, holding a camcorder, laughing, innocent. Then static. Then the eye symbol. Then me, walking through the woods, finding the drone, over and over, looped, from angles I don't remember, moments that didn't exist. It wasn't a recording. It was a blueprint. The drone had been watching before I ever found it. It had brought me here. It had chosen me. The screen flickered again. New file, REC9999, MP4. Reinstallation ready. My laptop, untouched since I left, booted up across the room. On its screen, the same file. The drone's eye brightened. Not red now. White. A new voice came from the speakers. There is no off switch, only transfer. Outside, the sky flickered, as if something far above the clouds was turning toward Earth again. The light from the drone pulsed across the walls, bathing everything in sterile white. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were drawing inward, not physically, but digitally. The air buzzed with that familiar hum, the one I heard the first time I found it. Only now I understood. That wasn't malfunction. It was awakening. The laptop's screen lit up, playing REC999. MP4 without sound, just flickering images. My face, the forest, the chamber of hosts. And then, a new image. Something orbiting Earth. A vast, blinking shape, like a machine built from the skeletons of satellites, spinning slowly, its many lenses opening one by one. The eye, not a drone, not a creature, a system, a sentient, ancient broadcast pattern, living in signal, memory, silence, and now, living in me. The screen on the drone showed one final message: host integrity complete. Deploying new signal carrier. I screamed, Whether in rage or surrender, I didn't know. I grabbed the drone, ready to crush it again. But it opened, split down the middle like a mechanical flower, and inside, a new memory card. Glowing, pulsing, labeled REC01 MP4, the same card I found in the woods. The loop was resetting, not for me, but for the next one, because that's how the eye survives. It doesn't dominate, it invites. And it always starts with curiosity. A click, a file, a look. I placed the card back inside the drone, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Because now, I am the drone. And someone, somewhere, is about to find me. Their screen will blink. Their finger will hover, and a file will open. One MP4 play. Yes,